This is a special report from Home Team 100.7 KLOG featuring 3rd District Representative Jim Walsh, Cowlitz County Commissioner Dennis Weber, CPA and Kelso City Councilman David Futcher, Cowlitz County Chief Criminal Deputy Troy Brightbill, and now your host, the CEO of the Kelso Longview Chamber of Commerce, Bill Markham.
Good afternoon. This is Bill Markham, CEO of the Kelso Longview Chamber of Commerce. The goal for today's program is to share critical information from experts on options for you as an employee, a business owner, and an individual. This broadcast is powered by the Kelso Longview Chamber of Commerce, Grocery Outlet on Ocean Beach Highway, American Workforce Group, and Home Team 100.7 KLOG News, all great locally owned community businesses. We have with us today Cowlitz County Commissioner Dennis Weber, 19th District Representative Jim Walsh, local CPA and Kelso City Council member David Futcher, and joining us also is Chief Criminal Deputy of Cowlitz County, Tony Brightbill. Welcome, everyone. We will start with 19th District Representative Jim Walsh. Jim, we'll just start with several questions and go from there. Will the governor extend the stay at home, stay healthy beyond May 4th?
At this point, he probably will need to consult with the legislature, although strictly legally, on that matter, his side is he doesn't need to consult with us because of the nature of that proclamation being a general prohibition and not a reference or an override of a particular piece of state law. His interpretation of the statutes that gives him the extraordinary powers during an emergency is that he doesn't need to consult with the legislature on that one. That all he needs to do is only consult with the legislature if a proclamation or an order overrides a specific piece of state law. There's a legal version of it, Bill, and then there's, of course, a political version. And at some point, the governor is going to need, regardless of his interpretation of the law, to consult with the legislature to proceed. The best conventional wisdom right now in Olympia is that we will have a special session of the legislature to deal with various aspects of the state's response to the COVID outbreak. And that special session will probably take place sometime in mid-June. That would coincide with the state how we're doing financially, fiscally at the state level. And so it would make sense that we would be able to see, if we were in session at that time, kind of the direction that we're going post stay home, stay healthy, and other orders. So that makes sense. We'll probably meet again sometime around mid-June. But in the meantime, as you mentioned, the current extension of that order is set to end May 4th. I suspect what the governor will do is consult with the legislative leadership, what they call the four corners of the legislature, and probably come up with some sort of agreement where I would imagine a slightly scaled down version of stay home, stay healthy extends beyond the 4th of May, or maybe a different program that is structured a little differently, but tries to continue to encourage the healthy behavior requirements, the social distancing, the greater commitment to cleaning public surfaces, maybe even wearing a breathing mask, which at this point is not mandatory, but an increasing number of experts are suggesting that people wear masks when they go out in public. So there may be a version of his current proclamation that goes forward after the 4th, but I'm certainly hoping that it's a skinny down version. And I'm hoping that even before we get to May 4th, the governor reconsiders some of the industries that he has deemed non-essential for the current period, and allows those industries and those people to go back to work even before May 4th, which it is in the governor's set of powers to do.
You mentioned a special session. Is that a 30-day special session, or is there a time limit on that?
Good question. There's no set rule for this. In the recent history, when budgets have been not resolved and having to be negotiated heavily, we have used 30-day periods for special session, but there's no requirement for that. If you go farther back in history, there have been special sessions which were as short as 1 day. I suspect that probably won't be enough time, but I would expect it'll be shorter than longer. So I suspect whatever special session that we do come June or whenever, that it'll be a short special session, probably a matter of a few days.
So the Federal CARES Act is in progress. People
Right.
are applying. How do you feel that that's going? I mean, is it working? It seems to be pushed down to the local level, which seems to be a great way to do it. Your perspective?
Oh, that piece, I agree with you completely, Bill, and that's essential to my mind for the quick and efficient distribution of the monies, the various pots of money, various channels of money that are included in that Federal CARES Act. It's a little premature to say. I mean, we like the early signs. It's a little premature to say how it's going because, I mean, frankly, the money hasn't really hit Main Street yet. As we know, probably the piece that's of greatest and most immediate impact to local businesses is an expansion and resetting of some of the terms of Small Business Administration financing loans. There was an existing program that the Small Business Administration ran in conjunction with FEMA, the Emergency Management Agency, and that is the structure that's been kind of expanded upon. The current version is called the Paycheck Protection Program, as some listeners may be aware, and that is a sort of turbocharged version of the traditional SBA loan program. So the money is available to small businesses in the form of a loan from the Small Business Administration. Well, actually, the loan comes from a bank, but guaranteed by the Small Business Administration. And the different wrinkle here is that the SBA program is prepared to forgive the loan. That is, make it waived, make it not have to be repaid, if the money from the loan can be shown that it was used in particular ways, primarily payroll, but some other business expenses too. If you can establish that you use the SBA loan money for those purposes and have the documents, have the receipts to show it, that portion of the loan would be forgiven and would not have to be repaid. Now that program, like the others, hasn't really gotten to the end users yet. We're just at the point now where businesses that use, particularly a few larger banks that are very familiar with using and administering SBA loans, may start seeing that money possibly this week, early next week, and that would be the first wave. So we need a little bit more time, Bill. We know the structure of the relief, but we need a little bit more time to be able to say that it really is getting to Main Street as quickly.
This is
along the way.
Yeah. So this is kind of a personal for me. Is the governor's ban on hunting and fishing. Just I don't know. It seems strange to me that that was put forth. You can go up, you can hike, you can walk in the woods, but you can't carry your pole and fish. Any comments on that or thoughts?
Well, it's a terrible piece of policy. I mean, I believe it was intended to prevent crowding at, parking lots and access points and boat launches, things like that. But I think it was a misguided effort. I've certainly heard a lot from constituents, from people in our area who are screaming bloody murder about it. They don't like it one bit. And I think we may see what the governor's office is diplomatically calling a clarification. They're using that word a lot these days, clarifying. We may see a clarification that loosens those restrictions. Now, for the moment, the ban is extended with the Stay Home, Stay Healthy program to early May. But I know there's a lot of pressure on the Department of Fish and Wildlife as well as the governor's office to loosen that up. So I'm hoping we'll see this. You know, this is the thing, Bill. In the current situation, so much of this action is at the discretion of the governor. Really, all we can do as legislators is try to kind of press and persuade, and that's what we're doing. We're talking with his office and encouraging them to clarify and refine some of the orders that he's made.
I probably can't get my fishing fees back, can I? Probably not.
No, but there may be. We may be looking for some way to credit this missed time in a way that's fair.
How about education? You know, all of a sudden the seniors are not going to be graduating. There's no sports. Any thoughts about the education situation and where, you know, are kids going to all advance one grade? I know they're doing some education at home, or they will be as of the 15th. Any thoughts on that?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the long-term effects of this, what they call distance learning, which is a term that covers both online classes as well as what they call course packets that some schools are sending home to the students. It'll be interesting to see what the long-term effects are and how much our notion of K-12 education may start to incorporate elements of what we've traditionally considered homeschooling. Some of this may become familiar and comfortable to people, and they may like to proceed this way. But I'm concerned about the cancellation of the entire school year. I worry that it may have been jumping the gun a bit, that we might have been able to recover a part of the school year. But the decision that both the governor's office and the state superintendent of public instruction made was they decided that the best call was to cancel any on-campus classes for K-12 for the rest of the school year, focus on that distance learning, and plan at least roughly to come back to school in the fall. Although the superintendent left open the possibility that even that might not be possible. So we're going to all get used to kids learning from home, and as I said, my interest is how much will that become an expected part of K-12 learning going forward.
Thank you. Any last minute things you would like to just touch on, or an item that you'd like to touch on?
Well, the effects of the COVID response, the governor's Stay Home, Stay Healthy plan, but other responses too at the federal level and the state level aren't going to be felt completely in an economic sense, probably for a few months. I mean, people are beginning to feel the pain now in early April as rents are coming due, but the effects, the long-term, in economic effects, business effects, commerce effects, we're going to be feeling these for probably 6 months. If we do see a recession, an adjustment, we may be looking at 6 months to a year or more of feeling the effects. And so what we need to be thinking of in terms of public policy and tax policy and regulatory policy is not a Band-Aid. We need to be looking at policies that will get us through the next 6 to 18 or 24 months and hopefully get us through whatever recessionary echo there is after this outbreak to a point of sustained economic growth again and job growth. And so that's what I'm going to be looking for, whether it's in the special session this summer or anything we do this fall or even into next year. I'm going to be looking for ways to reform our tax policy at the state level and reform our regulatory permitting processes so that we can get out of this as quickly as possible by freeing up business to do its thing.
That's great. Thank you, Representative Walsh, for your insight, and we appreciate you being with us and communicating to our local community today. Thank you again very much. Stay tuned at 100.7 KLOG. We'll be hearing from Dennis Weber next on KLOG Special Report.
Hi, this is Julie from American Workforce Group. AWG would like to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers, first care responders, and essential workers that are working so hard. We appreciate all you are doing for our community. AWG remains open and is offering video and phone interviews for essential jobs in our community. Please visit our Facebook page or contact our office at 360-200-4900. That's 360-200-4900. American Workforce Group, built on relationships, backed by integrity.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market, your locally owned grocery store on Ocean Beach Highway. Grocery Outlet has been on the front lines during the COVID-19 crisis. Grocery Outlet is a proud community supporter and donates thousands of dollars a year to dozens of local nonprofits. Mike and Michelle are grateful to their amazing team of employees and customers like you. Grocery Outlet Bargain Market on Ocean Beach Highway.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
Depend on Home Team 100.7 KLOG for the latest up-to-date local news and information. We're the only local radio group with a full-time newsroom. On air, online, on your phone. Home Team 100.7 KLOG and KLOG.com.
Welcome back to KLOG Special Report. I'm Bill Markham with the Kelso Longview Chamber. Joined now by Cowlitz County Commissioner Dennis Weber. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Bill, and thank you so much for asking me to participate today. It's been an experience that I've never had before, as most people have. And I started my political career in office a few months before the eruption of Mount St. Helens. So it's been interesting. We've been through some emergencies, but nothing at all with the scope and depth of this pandemic. We've all been on a steep learning curve. One of my jobs has been to act as a business liaison with the Emergency Operations Center that's in action over at the Event Center with law enforcement personnel, administrative staff from the counties and other entities, and personnel from the hospital. It's an effort to plan, to try to assist people who are short of supplies of all kinds, and to coordinate policy so that the people get a consistent message. One of the things that I've been particularly tasked to do is, as the liaison, is to get the information that comes into us about how businesses are impacted, and then try to provide them with information on what the government is doing to try to help them either stay in business or reopen in a few days. And I've been pretty impressed with the variety of programs that are being made available by a government that doesn't want businesses to shut down. They, as Representative Walsh says, we want to get those businesses back open as quickly as it is safe and possible. And yet we also know that in the small business world, there are no guarantees. And, we're afraid that there are going to be some businesses that might have been struggling before the pandemic that just aren't going to reopen. I hope that's not the case. But there are certainly a lot of programs that are available to help small businesses. You've mentioned several of them already. We've also received money from the governor's emergency or strategic reserve that's available for small loans. And the county, the Cowlitz County Economic Development Council is going to be in charge of handling those loans. And there's about $300,000 from the city of Longview in a revolving loan fund that's also been made available. They've changed the rules, and it's going to be available in smaller loans, that gap financing to help people get over the hurdle, so to speak.
Well, I see where there has been no new cases in the last 24 hours or so. And so we're still holding at 20 in Cowlitz County. And currently none of those are in the hospital at Peace Health. Is this good news, great news, or really cautious news?
Yes. Sorry about that. Actually, I came over from a noon meeting at the Emergency Operations Center, and there has been one more case. We had been at 21. It was a late reported statistic. So now we're actually at 22. But again, you're correct. None of them are hospitalized. Those who have been hospitalized have been sent home. In fact, just before I came here, I had a different meeting and heard from a board member at the hospital that they have tentatively set last Friday as the apex of the curve in Cowlitz County. Now, having said that, and that kind of is reflected with these slow statistics, it's still, we need to be monitoring at least 14 days, 2 more weeks to make sure that trend is down. It was never very high to begin with, and it's been pretty amazing. You know, I'm a former history teacher, and I ran across an article in the Historical Quarterly about the Spanish flu in Cowlitz County about 100 years ago. And it was pretty surprising how similar the reactions were. No church services, no social activities, weekend dances shut down, schools were closed, and they locked everything up for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then they thought it was over with, and they let everybody back in the buildings, and then people started dying. So my word is always very cautionary. We're not through it yet. The preliminary findings, at least locally, are encouraging, but we don't want to rebound. And we've got a great crew of people at the Emergency Operations Center who are doing everything possible to make sure people get the supplies that they need.
So Dennis, if people listening want to know how to kind of keep up to date on what's going on, number of cases, where would they go to do that?
So there are a couple of different sources. There's a website with the county, Cowlitz COVID-19, and they have the information available. If people are really curious about how the planning is going, the planning operations, it's at the event center. The doors are not locked. Come down and watch the operation. Hopefully next time Representative Walsh is in town, it'd be great for him to stop by and walk through and see. We've got some pretty dedicated individuals hard at work, trying to anticipate the contingencies and particularly taking care of shortages that occur.
I hear the incident management team. I hear references to that. Could you explain what that is and who that is and kind of what's their responsibilities?
So you may recall that a while back, the county declared an emergency following the governor's actions. And then the cities, all 5 cities, also passed emergency proclamations, basically designating this incident command structure to be put in place. And we've kind of delegated the command to Dave Lefebvre, very experienced in incident commands for all different kinds of emergencies. And he's sort of he is the commander of the incident management team. But there are folks working on logistics, the supplies, those who are looking at planning. What do we need in the next 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 7 days, 14 days? And in fact, there's already begun some discussion on the transition if the statistics hold and we're through the worst of it. Great group of people from multiple different entities, a lot of firefighters, a lot of police officers, as well as government staffers.
Why can't we all get the test?
Well, part of that is a supply issue. They not really knowing much about this disease when it first broke out, it's been difficult to get the tests involved. And at the same time, we want to make sure that people don't confuse getting a test with some kind of a cure. There currently is no vaccine. So whether you get a test or not should not change your behaviors. You still need to be following the social distancing, the frequent wash, exercise in the fresh air, and you know those important precautions. The good news is that we have heard that there is a new test that only takes about 15 minutes to determine if you're negative. It's even less than that to see if you're positive. And I think what's most important for that type of a test is that our first responders and our healthcare providers get provided. They're the ones that are on the edge. They don't know if they've got it. They don't want to go home to their kids and their spouses. They don't want to spread the disease inadvertently. And yet, as providers, as responders, they're dedicated to helping the public. So they need to know. If you've had it, you might not even know you've had it. And because vast majority of people have very mild symptoms, if they have symptoms at all that they can tell, but they might have the immunities. And if they're working with people that are infected, it would be nice to know if they've got some immunity so that they don't have that worry. I think it's a test that's going to come. In fact, there are some tentative plans for some mobile testing units around various parts of the county. So, we're getting the plans. It's a matter of getting those tests manufactured and out to the people. In fact, we've also noted, because the number of cases are relatively low here in Cowlitz County, we're not on the priority list from getting a lot of the supplies and the ventilators and all those kinds of things that the big cities up north with a much more serious outbreak they're getting.
So, I hear I should wear a mask. I shouldn't wear a mask if I don't have it. I guess what's the county's direction on that?
It is one of those optional things. It does make sense if you understand that the virus is spread by droplets that come from people even speaking or coughing or sneezing. It would make sense if you expect to be in an area where there are a lot of people, like grocery stores. It's been interesting to see the kinds of masks people are beginning to wear. The simplest one is the bandana over the nose. It doesn't tie underneath the chin, so it's not as effective as one with more elastic, but they're pretty colorful and they need to be washed and kept clean, so people can adapt. If you're not in a situation where you're crowded with a lot of people, use your judgment. You may not necessarily need to do the mask.
So Dennis, I have a couple true-false questions, and I'm sure you can expound on those, but true or false, the new coronavirus was deliberately created?
Well, interesting news about that. My wife used to teach biology. She would show lots of films about epidemiology and all kinds of diseases. And she said she always uses the phrase, wherever you have birds, pigs, and humans in close contact, you're going to get all kinds of mysterious diseases. It's kind of happening. And that's, in this instance, that's a reference to the wet markets in Wuhan. But I've also seen reports that there were some medical research facilities where the virus was created and somehow got out. So again, one of those wonderful answers, true
or false. Yeah. Okay. True or false, ordering or buying products shipped from overseas could make a person ill?
That is not proven to be the case at all. The virus itself is a fairly unstable thing. It isn't actually alive. It's a piece of protein. It's surrounded by a very thin layer of fat. If it gets in your body, that fat layer helps it to stick to the mucous membranes, and then it does thrive. But other than that, it doesn't thrive on cold temperatures. It doesn't last very long, and boxes and things that are dry are not going to spread that.
Dennis, we have about a minute. Anything you'd like to touch on that we didn't ask?
I've been absolutely impressed with how the people of Cowlitz County have responded when the request goes out for help and assistance, whether it's supplying masks or making masks or social distancing. We see it all around us. There is that can-do spirit. I'm enthusiastic. I know we're going to get through this. We're doing what needs to be done. I share the frustration that an urban power elite seems to think we don't know how to take care of ourselves if we want to go fishing and hunting. But those are axes we continue to grind, whether or not we have a pandemic.
Well, great. Thank you very much, Commissioner Weber, and we appreciate your valuable insight and appreciate you being willing to communicate with our listeners and for also leading Cowlitz County during these trying times. Thank you very much for being with us.
You're welcome.
Stay here on 100.7 KLOG. Coming up next is David Fucher on this KLOG Special Report.
Depend on Home Team 100.7 KLOG for the latest up-to-date local news and information. We're the only local radio group with a full-time newsroom. On air, online, on your phone. Home Team 100.7 KLOG and KLOG.com. The Cowlitz PUD is working towards expanding how they can assist customers during this difficult time in our community and our nation. The Cowlitz PUD understands the economic hardship this can put on their customers. If you are struggling with your bills or anticipate struggling with your bills, please call a customer service representative at 360-423-2210. That's 423-2210. Or visit online at cowlitzpud.org. We're in this together, and we can get through this together. Cowlitz PUD, your power. Now, more than ever, our nation's ports are critical links in the supply chains moving essential goods we all rely on, like food and medical supplies. Here at home, your Port of Longview continues to move cargo in support of our local and national economies. The port's cargo docks remain open for business, and they're committed to supporting the local businesses they rely on for materials and supplies. Thank you to the medical workers on the front lines and those working behind the scenes, like our longshore and construction trade partners that keep our ports operating and the goods flowing. Stay connected with the port on Facebook or portoflongview.com. And please stay home, stay healthy.
Welcome back to the KLOG Special Report. I'm Bill Markham with the Council Longview Chamber, joined now by CPA David Fucher. Thank you, David, for being with us.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
So I would guess from a business standpoint, CPA, you are probably coaching and trying to help a lot of businesses through these, I guess, opportunities, loans, grants and things like that. Easy, hard? You know, everybody that talks to me says, man, it's hard. It's difficult. I'm waiting in line. I'm waiting on the phone. It's just very difficult. Are you helping them to navigate this process?
We're trying to help folks look at what options are out there to keep their business up, running, and paying employees. And the federal government obviously sees it as a crucial part of our economic recovery to keep people working. And, you know, they've given money to the state, obviously, to help fund some additional unemployment, but they're also giving our businesses money to keep people off of the unemployment lines anyway. So it's been a whole lot of trying to figure out some pretty complex options that are changing moment by moment. And just when you think you've got them figured out, the new guidance comes out and, oh, well, you know, here's really what we meant. So it's been tough from that standpoint, trying to get your hands around exactly what's happening, but there's no way around the fact that there are some good opportunities for businesses to take advantage of right now in trying to stay on track.
Can businesses take advantage of more than one of the stimulus packages?
There are some things that have said you're supposed to, you know, if you use one, you're ineligible for the other. Some of that's dialed back, and we don't have great answers for all of that. In EIDL that's been put out there, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, there was a $10,000 kick that could come to you pretty quickly. And for a while it was saying, hey, you do that and you're out of luck for the Paycheck Protection Program. But it turns out they're just going to use that as an advance on what would be forgiven under the Paycheck Protection Program. So we've been navigating those kind of questions, and what's even tougher is, you know, the banks are trying to still navigate those, and, you know, SBA is getting, I heard that they have about 60,000 applications a year is a typical year for SBA, and they're expecting to get that a day. So if you're familiar with sometimes how bureaucracy can work in good times, you can only imagine what it's like when you have a 250-fold increase in your volume.
Well, and ESD had 181,000 unemployment claims last week. So if we could get them off unemployment, get them working, and that money's flowing through a business, I think that's an excellent way to go.
That's absolutely what's incentivized right now is to keep your folks working. And as I've been having conversations with clients, the thought is, you know, is it worth paying folks to not do anything for me even? And, you know, the answer is you'd probably be about even with some of the forgiveness options that are out there in these programs. But where it really makes a difference and moves the needle for businesses is when they can use the federal funds to help make sure that they're able to pay their employees while the employees actually produce something valuable to them.
Do you need to have a 2019 tax filing already completed to be eligible?
No, we've had a bunch of folks who individuals for making sure that the IRS knew that they didn't make more than the threshold this year if they maybe had a bubble year last year, or businesses who thought that I need to have this filed as part of my application process. In neither case is actually true. There is no requirement in the Paycheck Protection Plan or the other SBA funding options that nothing requires a 2019 income tax return. And when it came to the individuals who, they're like, hey, I want to make sure I get my stimulus. And last year I sold a piece of property or something. I had too much income. I don't want them thinking I'm permanently ineligible for this. Let me file my 19 real quick. And I'm like, yeah, you're giving them a lot of credit if you think they're going to take a return I filed today. Pick up all that information, feed it into their system, and revise what they were going to send you as a stimulus check as a result of it. I think that ship sailed for the individuals, and I don't see it's necessary at all for the businesses. So there really is no sense of urgency in terms of filing your tax return right now. There may be a sense of urgency in getting this application in because it is very generous, and I don't know how long funds will last. So I've encouraged clients to make sure they get in line pretty quickly.
So, I think as Jim mentioned earlier, nothing has kind of really hit the pavement yet or hit the bank accounts yet. Any idea on how long this process might take? As you said, they're just overwhelmed. They were hoping 3 days, and then it's a week, and now it's maybe 3 weeks. Any thought from your perspective?
I think we're close. I was reading some comments from some other firms around the country, and some of them are seeing their clients actually getting submitted and getting funded. Some of them have seen funds. I haven't seen funds here locally, but I've seen some good movement, positive movements in the banks. They're getting their stuff in order to submit today, a lot of them. And the turnaround time on that is supposed to be quick, but again, I don't know if I get excited about that just yet. I'm really expecting that next week we'll start seeing some cash hitting folks locally, and maybe that'll keep more businesses from wanting to lay off employees. I'm talking to my clients about that. I'm saying, hey, you've actually got an incentive here, perhaps, to just keep paying them and get the best you can out of them. But you've got 8 weeks that essentially their payroll will be covered by the federal government. So it's a very generous program. When you put pencil to paper on what 2 months of payroll and some rent and other expenses that qualify there are worth, it can get up to 6 figures really quickly.
I've heard several businesses that have come to me and said, my bank or my credit union is not offering it. What do I do now? And the banks that are taking care of their customers first. And so, they're very frustrated. And I do know that our credit unions by this weekend or by this Friday are supposed to be up and running and being able to process those loans and that paperwork. But as of today, that wasn't happening. And so a lot of frustrated people, especially members of the chamber, calling me saying, what do we do? How do we get help? And that money's going to be gone before I get there. Any advice for them?
I don't think it'll be gone necessarily. I mean, it is a little risky, but the thing with a slow process is nobody's getting it for a few moments at least. And it's really good news that you mentioned that Red Canoe and Fiber Federal Credit Union both announced that they will be participating, because in the beginning, at least what I was hearing was that they were not going to be part of this process, although they were qualified to be. But both of them have said on their websites, at least by today, that they will be participating, and they represent a pretty good chunk of even business banking. You think of them as more individual, but they've both got some foothold in at least business banking. Fiber's tried to get into commercial lending as well, and so they've got a pretty good hold there. And to see them participate was a very positive thing today.
Well, great. David, thank you very much for being with us. Anything you'd like to add before we move forward?
I just want to make sure that people who own a business or even have a self-employed or are self-employed know that there are some really good opportunities here. And don't try and struggle through it. Don't try and assume that you've got some put aside and you can make it through this. The government wants to help, you get through this, and they want to encourage you to keep folks paid. You don't know, you may not be in too bad a shape today, but you don't know what the next 60, 90 days is going to bring. So don't be proud, don't be debt averse and think, I never want to borrow money. And this is going to be a forgiven loan for the most part. And you want to take a look at it seriously, and don't just be sticking your head in the sand.
Well, David, I know that us in the chamber world feel a little bit slighted because the Paycheck Protection Plan does not include 501c6, at least at this time. And so we've been trying to push that forward. So obviously for me personally, if you hear anything that changes that, please let me know.
Will do. And you bring up a good point. 501c3 nonprofit organizations are included, so they need to be thinking the same way.
Yep. Thank you, David. David is the principal owner of the Future Group, and we thank you for being with us and sharing your perspective on the stimulus packages that are out there and how to get applied for them. Stay tuned with us here on 100.7 KLOG. Up next is Chief Criminal Deputy Troy Brightbill. Thank you very much.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market, your locally owned grocery store on Ocean Beach Highway. Grocery Outlet has been on the front lines during the COVID-19 crisis. Grocery Outlet is a proud community supporter and donates thousands of dollars a year to dozens of local nonprofits. Mike and Michelle are grateful to their amazing team of employees and customers like you. Grocery Outlet Bargain Market on Ocean Beach Highway.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
Now, more than ever, our nation's ports are critical links in the supply chains moving essential goods we all rely on, like food and medical supplies. Here at home, your Port of Longview continues to move cargo in support of our local and national economies. The port's cargo docks remain open for business, and they're committed to supporting the local businesses they rely on for materials and supplies. Thank you to the medical workers on the front lines and those working behind the scenes, like our longshore and construction trade partners that keep our ports operating and the goods flowing. Stay connected with the port on Facebook or portoflongview.com. And please stay home, stay healthy.
Hi, this is Julie from American Workforce Group. AWG would like to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers, first care responders, and essential workers that are working so hard. We appreciate all you are doing for our community. AWG remains open and is offering video and phone interviews for essential jobs in our community. Please visit our Facebook page or contact our office at 360-200-4900. That's 360-200-4900. American Workforce Group, built on relationships, backed by integrity.
Depend on Home Team 100.7 KLOG for the latest up-to-date local news and information. We're the only local radio group with a full-time newsroom. On air, online, on your phone. Home Team 100.7 KLOG and KLOG.com.
Welcome back to the KLOG Special Report. I'm Bill Markham with the Kelso Longview Chamber of Commerce. Joined now by Chief Criminal Deputy of Cowlitz County, Troy Brightbill. Troy, thank you very much for being with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So why is this pandemic or any disaster such an opportunity for scammers and criminals? We just keep hearing more and more about these different scams that are coming up.
Criminals are opportunistic and they prey upon vulnerable people. They know people are scared and looking for help right now. The coronavirus pandemic presents a new set of vulnerabilities for criminals to exploit. Criminals may look for victims who want a vaccine or testing for the coronavirus, and they'll look for people who've lost income or investments during this crisis.
What are some of the most common schemes that you've seen going on right now?
We typically deal with computer or telephone-based fraud incidents where suspects will contact citizens by email or phone. We've heard about some coronavirus-related schemes in other parts of the country where they're offering fraudulent tests or treatments for the coronavirus. Obviously, we encourage people to only go through their doctor, pharmacist, or local health department for any medical issues. And any test or treatment from unknown sources could be extremely dangerous. There are others. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do people do? Should they call you? Who should they call if they get one of those calls or somebody coming by selling something?
First off, verify who they are or where they're from. You can always contact an agency or a company directly rather than getting the confirmation from the person that you're speaking with. Secondly, discuss it with someone you trust, a friend or family member or neighbor, somebody that can kind of help set you straight if you're suspicious.
What can I do to protect myself, personally, my computer or things like that from this happening?
First, always be cautious with your online communications. You want to verify email addresses, which can be made to look similar to one that you might be familiar with. Make sure that it's spelled correctly. Be wary of email attachments or links, and limit what information you share on social media, as criminals can use this information to gain your confidence.
What else can you tell us about just being safe and being aware?
In general, be suspicious of someone offering you something that's too good to be true. You didn't win that sweepstakes that you didn't enter. People aren't going to offer a secret investment opportunity to a stranger. And again, contact a friend or family member to discuss anything like this before even considering sending money.
So you're our cleanup hitter today. Anything you would like to add that we just didn't ask any questions on?
We recognize it's a difficult time all around. We really do appreciate the community. All our citizens are doing their part. We've generally had really positive contacts with people, and we appreciate everything that everyone's doing to help us and to help the medical professionals that are really carrying the load here.
So my last question, what's your number one priority when you come to work every day?
Safety. We are in this business to help keep our citizens safe. We're going to do everything we can to that end. And second to that, I have to make sure that our employees are safe as well. We're doing things a little differently than normal so that we can minimize our risk of exposure and continue to come to work every day to serve our citizens.
Thank you, Deputy Troy. I appreciate you being with us today and for your insight. We have coming up with us in the future. We hope to be with you next week. We're working on speakers for that. I guess what I want to say is while we live in one of the most beautiful places in Washington, we have a lot of very positive things happening to keep this virus from spreading throughout the county. We need to continue to do our part. I hope, and I'm sure you all hope the same thing, that we stay home, stay safe, and that we get back to work and start enjoying entertaining our friends, enjoying lunch at some of our favorite restaurants, and attending some great movies that didn't get to see so far. So I want to thank all of you for being with us today. I appreciate it. We've just about eaten up all of our time. And so thank you very much. And lastly, I'd like to just say that you can always count on the live and the local news team for a good information. Thanks for tuning in to Home Team 100.7, KLOG, and KLOG.com. See you all next week. Troy, thank you.
Special report
Thank you.
from Home Team 100.7 KLOG News Center. This special report is now available online on KLOG.com. Local isn't where you are, it's what you do. Home Team 100.7 KLOG. Stay tuned as we join.
The Cowlitz PUD is working towards expanding how they can assist customers during this difficult time in our community and our nation. The Cowlitz PUD understands the economic hardship this can put on their customers. If you are struggling with your bills or anticipate struggling with your bills, please call a customer service representative at 360-423-2210. That's 423-2210. Or visit online at cowlitzpud.org. We're in this together, and we can get through this together. Cowlitz PUD, your power.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market, your locally owned grocery store on Ocean Beach Highway. Grocery Outlet has been on the front lines during the COVID-19 crisis. Grocery Outlet is a proud community supporter and donates thousands of dollars a year to dozens of local nonprofits. Mike and Michelle are grateful to their amazing team of employees and customers like you. Grocery Outlet Bargain Market on Ocean Beach Highway.
Grocery Outlet Bargain Market.
Hi, this is Julie from American Workforce Group. AWG would like to say a big thank you to all the healthcare workers, first care responders, and essential workers that are working so hard. We appreciate all you are doing for our community. AWG remains open and is offering video and phone interviews for essential jobs in our community. Please visit our Facebook page or contact our office at 360-200-4900. That's 360-200-4900. American Workforce Group, built on relationships, backed by integrity.